An interesting game. Let's jump into this. We'll talk about mages more when we do get out of this game, but Baba's Boys versus In Lite starts right now.
I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I'm kind of speechless.
It's on my screen.
I don't think any of us could have predicted this matchup, but it looks like it is going to be Restoration Druid, Elemental Shaman, and Balance Druid going up against the cleave setup that Lite is bringing with the Discipline Priest, the Feral Druid, and the Retribution Paladin. But I feel like Baba's Boys, they've got this on paper. If they can survive, I mean, maybe Looney can get taken down. There's a lot of burst pressure very early on.
Maro's suddenly getting swapped to as well, and Lite are doing devastating damage early on against the team of Baba's Boys, but they do not panic. Looney is not a healer to crack under pressure, always making even exchanges, and even if he's dangerously low on health, will never overextend his defensive lineup unless he absolutely needs to, and that's really what his niche is as a healer, is playing maximum fortified defense and being an unbreakable wall. And Lite with this peculiar composition, one that I'm not even sure we've ever seen in AWC, with the Retribution Paladin Feral Druid, brings in hybrid healing, so both the Retribution Paladin and Feral Druid can heal, and that allows Zuniaki a lot more freedom to just do damage. And the composition on the side of Lite actually on paper makes sense that it could go for long matches, but the weakness is that this Retribution Paladin does not move very fast, and if he's caught in the middle of the field for just a little bit too long, he can get bursted down, and that's the weakness that Baba's Boys are going after.
Yeah, and one of the things we see with Elemental Shaman these days that we didn't see before is the Lightning Lasso. So Zeepai is going to be able to channel a stun on a target. In addition to doing massive damage, it keeps them locked in place. So look for Zeepai to find great Lightning Lassos throughout this game if he is playing it. Kara caught in midfield once again, and that's really what Baba's Boys wants to do. They want to keep Kara in midfield, keep him caught in this lasso, put out big pressure, and eventually, if they can bring the game to dampening, Kara's uptime is just going to be a huge problem for Lite.
I would like to see Zuniaki being a bit more aggressive in terms of damage dealing, not necessarily Psychic Scream, as it's completely nullified by Tremor Totem, and the positioning is too difficult for the Discipline Priest to really get to Looney. It's more that Zuniaki needs to just maximize his damage output and sort of make up for the lack of single target damage that his team provides with no Mortal Strike or no healing reduction effect. Zuniaki at the pillar trying to pick his team back up, but Zeepai right on top of him going for a Hex, gets Psychic Screamed away on the cast. Zuniaki, he does manage to instantly get dispelled by Cassidy. Zeepai would like to combine Hex on Zuniaki and Lightning Lasso on Feral, but because Cassidy dispelled Zuniaki so fast, Zeepai couldn't get that set up, and now Cassidy easily survives.
Yeah, and for Lite and Zuniaki, as the game goes on, it's going to be more difficult for Zuniaki to keep his mana up. There's a fine line where your Atonement healing just no longer is enough, and Smite isn't enough to sustain, so you have to start spamming out the Shadow Mends a little bit later on to keep your team alive. For now, Zuniaki's doing great on mana, but I worry about Lite if the game does go on long.
Yeah, at this point, constant burst damage towards the team of Lite. Zuniaki probably playing Trinity and healing a lot with Smite and Penance, and that's why his mana is so high as a Discipline Priest. If you're running a Trinity build, you just do damage to heal. However, if a game snowballs out of your control, it's very difficult to recover from it, so Zuniaki needs to stay completely ahead. You can see he's fallen quite far behind, and Cassidy hasn't gone up in a little bit. Kara actually healing with Avenging Wrath, Word of Glory, and Tapium back off, and the support of two hybrids also benefits that Trinity build for Zuniaki, so I think it would be the nice decision there on his part. Looney, in the meantime, using Thorns to try and maximize damage as both Kara and Cassidy connect, but it does appear to be that the durability of both sides is likely to extend this game into dampening.
Yep, Kara and Cassidy on target right now, putting some pressure out on Tomorrow, but with no real crowd control threat onto Looney, it's difficult for them to get the damage rolling that they need. Zuniaki on the Discipline Priest, of course, he has the Psychic Scream, but pushing into Looney just to get your Fear Tremored doesn't seem like a wise decision, and Zuniaki knows this, so he's playing very passive, far back, healing with Trinity, like we said, keeping his team stable. But I just feel like dampening is going to be required for this game to end with the way these two teams are playing.
Effectively, there are 6 healers in this arena as well to take note of, with hybrids on every team. They'll be able to constantly support everybody else on the team, so it's likely that healing reduction is going to be necessary for either team to really make something get going here. I would like to see more Hex Lightning Lasso combos by Zeepai, and they're trying to kite away and bait Zuniaki into midfield. Now Zuniaki's midfield, so Zeepai and Maro push up to try and get crowd control, and Zuniaki immediately retreats back, and it's going to be a bit of a tug of war between both of these wizards and both of these melee before we get to dampening. We see Hammer of Justice onto Maro. Now, that may seem peculiar because a healer can dispel it, but if you actually use it on cooldown, you may be able to run a healer out of mana, as Dispel is actually a fairly expensive ability to use, and that could be a strategy Kara is intending to employ moving into a late game.
Yep, there's no question about it. Morrow now on 50% health, but Looney, I don't think he's used Iron Bark at one point during this game, so double Thorn's going to be activated onto Morrow. Now Kara attacking him becomes very risky because of all that redirect damage that the Thorn's ability provides. Kara now caught into the Bastion in midfield, into a Cyclone on his Avenging Wrath. But Zuniaki and Lite, their team has been very stable. Baba's Boys as well. Dampening has now kicked in, our good friend Dampening. Things will start happening in this matchup. Kara pushing towards Morrow, trying to get some damage rolling. Kara looking for heals as well. Like Sid said, there's just a lot of off-healing in this matchup, which makes it really difficult to push the enemy over.
Stormkeeper Malediction combo as Kara gets bursted down in midfield. Another Malediction as tons of damage follows it up, but immediately catching heals from all three members of the team. Kara will bounce back to full HP in a jiffy. Kara making his way over, but Cassie getting Lightning Lasso. Kara looks like he wants to go after Looney, catching him in a Hammer of Justice and trying to lay down some punishment, but Cassidy is just staying on Morrow. Potentially they go for a split strategy, but immediately Baba's Boys switch their turret attention to Cassidy, bursting him down. Kara getting left behind the pillar, not able to support both Morrow and Cassidy, about half health here. And as we move deeper into Dampening, these moments could be kills quite easily.
Yep, there's no question about it. Cyclone once again on Cassidy. Nicely done by Morrow, I believe, who's landing these Cyclones. Looney playing very far back. Really doesn't want to tax his mana, casting out those Cyclones at this point, especially when you have a balanced Druid on your team. There's no real reason. Zeepai now getting a Lightning Lasso, and those Lightning Lassos, as the game progresses, are going to be very scary for Kara, especially if Zeepai is not getting interrupted on those. So that's something Enlight definitely has to consider as this match moves forward.
I would either like to see Hexes being casted on Zuniaki or Kara. If they can remove Kara, then remove the extra healing from him at least, and then Lightning Lasso Morrow. I think Zeepai could be more effectively utilizing that crowd control together to try and burst down the target, or at least tax more mana from Zuniaki, as he's likely to use Shadow Men to recover on his own if both Kara and Cassidy are removed from the fight with crowd control. Dampening ramps up. Zuniaki's doing a good job to maintain his mana on parity with Looney, constantly focusing on healing with Atonement, Penance, Smite, these very inexpensive spells, but they don't heal very much, to stay in the fight and contend with that Restoration Druids. Mara with Incarnation active could be devastating, but they're actually counter-pressuring him during the Incarnation. He's not able to benefit at all from that boost of damage, although now immediately being topped off, can start to switch the pressure in favor. Gunning down Cassidy, then Cyclonium at relatively low health, not really too devastating at this point in the game. However, using Cyclone on a target at low health can deny incoming healing, can potentially force the team to use a mistake and heal into that Cyclone, completely nullifying the heal and removing it from the match. Zuniaki looks like he wants to try and make a move here as he's crossing center field, which can be quite dangerous as he's exposed himself to crowd control.
Yeah, Zeepai with the Lightning Lasso on Cassidy once again. He has overextended. Zuniaki now forced midfield into a Cyclone, looking for the heals he needs on Cassidy. Cassidy's going to have to play very defensive here. The Leap of Faith will bring him back to the pillar with Zuniaki. Nicely done. Good teamwork there. At 20% dampening, now things are really going to start heating up. Zuniaki's been doing a good job keeping his mana pretty high in this matchup. Kara now getting bursted down, and as soon as Zuniaki gets to the point where he has to spam out Shadowmans, it's going to become very unstable for his team, especially his mana bar.
All right, we see a Dome of Light powered bear. Maybe it is not Dome of Light, which is why Zuniaki is kind of tossing that out so casually. You would typically see that barrier traded for Incarnation, or at least Stormkeeper of Zeepai, and now if he is running Dome of Light, that was a powerful cooldown he effectively wasted at a critical point in Dampening. It seems to be the case that Kara and Cassidy are more often on the back foot in this matchup, and slowly but surely Baba's Boys are going to be walking away with this match, and Light may need to try and figure out a different strategy. Now they're going for Lightning Lassos on Kara instead, but Cassidy can support the team and heal, which is why I think going after Cassidy with Hexes on Kara is a better overall strategy during those Lightning Lasso moments, but they're just not going for it. Zuniaki's mana has now finally taken a hit here as Dampening stacks up. He's having to use a lot more expensive heals like Shadow Mend, and that's putting him even more so behind. We see Looney locked in a bash, looking for Cyclone. No, Cassidy actually getting Cyclone. Rake stun now on Looney, and Looney might be the kill target deep in Dampening potentially. Will he crack? Cassidy ripping in right now. Lots of pressure. Looney ducks in bear form. Frenzy Regeneration gets Cycloned. Good denial by Cassidy, and now keeping some pressure up on Zeepai as well. And later we move into Dampening. Looney gets swapped to like that again, and it might just be curtains.
Yeah, and that's one of the changes that came in 8.1 is Feral Druids actually have Cyclone now, so they lost a little bit of their burst damage, and now they have the ability to actually use Cyclone. So they can do these sort of hit-and-run strategies, pressure down Looney, then Cyclone is Frenzied Regen, like you said. Gives Feral Druids a lot more crowd control, a lot more options to sort of score these kills and find these windows of opportunity.
Cassidy getting bursted down in midfield. Kara, Zuniaki both backing him up as he restabilizes, and Dampening continues to mount. Morrow in Incarnation, boosting his damage quite a lot, and what will they do? Kara, Cassidy, they're on the run. They want to duck for cover behind the pillar and avoid this, but Kara gets left behind, and Zeepai holds him in place. Life Grip gets Ursul's vortexed by Looney. Good positioning, and Kara is forced to trade his Shield of Vengeance, which is a pretty powerful shield. Great offensive play by Looney there during that moment, but now they're stacked up behind the pillar. Perfect positioning for Earthquakes from Zeepai to try and crowd control and burst down the team, but they've repositioned. However, out into the open, Zeepai has that Fire Elemental. He's playing the Primalist version, going to be doing a lot more damage with it, and they need to be a bit careful here. Lightning Lasso comboed together with it, and Kara gets bursted. Zuniaki denies with Rapture, but these Power Word Shields just continue to get weaker and weaker as Dampening gets higher and higher.
36% Dampening. Zuniaki still keeping his team stable. Zeepai now casting out the Stormkeeper, looking for big pressure over onto Kara, but gets shut down by Cassidy with that Rake Stun over onto Zeepai. Root going to be used, or Beam going to be used over on a Zuniaki to interrupt him. Kara's getting lower. Zeepai in a position where you can actually land some Wind Shears to interrupt these Shadowmens as well. Bash on Looney, but Baba's Boys, they're looking so solid, so stable in this position. Zeepai looking for the Lightning Lasso on Kara. He trinkets out to avoid the incoming damage. Interrupt on Zuniaki once again, and now you can tell Zeepai, he's in a much more offensive position because the Wind Shears at this point in Dampening, they matter so much more.
Yeah, and you want to be using Wind Shear on Penance, on Smite, on these low mana cost spells, so Zuniaki is forced to smash Shadow Mend and run his mana bar completely dry, and that could be an effective strategy against a Trinity playing Disciplined Priest. Good stun combos here into a Hex, but no Lasso. Cassidy instantly dispelling these Hexes, and even though Morrow tried to cycle on him, Cassidy is just too fast on that Dispel Keybind. Zuniaki ultimately, though, falling behind on mana. Incarnation is cycling up for Morrow in about a minute. Cassidy has a punch here with Berserk, but he needs to be stable enough to push for it. Zuniaki is moving in, and Lite are getting aggressive. They know they're on the clock. They need to get crowd control. They need to get burst out if they want to find a kill, because inevitably they are going to be rotted down by Baba's Boys moving forward.
Yep, good pressure here coming in from Baba's Boys. 44% Dampening. Kara getting lower. He still has the Divine Shield, but I don't know if Zuniaki is going to be able to top him off. Kara trades out the Divine Shield, just trying to avoid some incoming damage. There's the Maledict over on Morrow. Gets dispelled off now. Swap over on Zeepai. Kara and Cassidy looking for some pressure, but Zuniaki, this poor Disciplined Priest, he's falling further and further behind, trying to play catch-up with his Rapture. Penance on Kara as well. If Cassidy, Kara, and Zuniaki can get behind the pillar, they are playing a triple healer setup essentially with the two hybrids, so they should be able to top themselves off and really assist Zuniaki before they try to go out and put out a final push onto Baba's Boys.
Well, and Light, if they're going to all play defensive and hide behind the pillar, Looney's just going to simply drink, regenerate his mana to full, and absolutely secure the late game advantage for his side, as slowly but surely they are going to be able to get victory. Cassidy's Lightning Lasso gets broken out. Kara actually using Sanctuary on the Lightning Lasso, which I think is a smart maneuver there. If Cassidy had been held in place with no Gladiator's Medallion, it could have been the end of the game. Typically, healer or Retribution Paladins want to use that on their healers, but in this particular matchup, he has to mix it up and use the Sanctuary on multiple targets and pick which one's more vulnerable, and he's been doing it throughout the fight, so great usage of that. Kara now leading the charge. Avenging Wrath activated. It's do or die time for Enlight. They're almost completely tapped on mana. They got no more defense left. Kara gets clotheslined by a clone in center field. Zuniaki unable to heal. Cassidy trying to run and hide, but he simply can't. So much damage flying in. Looney completely ahead on mana. Stormkeeper, they're all stacked up for some Chain Lightnings potentially from Zeepai, and Dampening is just at the point where the hybrid healing is slowly but surely becoming non-effective. Kara gets bursted down by the remainder of that Stormkeeper. Cassidy dips low as well, but Morrow is somehow actually getting pressured despite all of this, and Baba's Boys are forced away.
Yeah, Morrow having to run away, playing a little bit too aggressive at 56% Dampening. All bits of damage are scary. Cassidy getting lower. Bash on Looney. He has the Iron Bark almost up. Bark's going to be used by Morrow. Looney plays it safe, plays it a little bit greedy as we move towards 60% dampening. Ironbark is going to be forced out as Cassidy and Kara looking to close out this game. Dark Archangel gets used by Zuniaki. They're looking to make the final charge. Can they take down Morrow? Cassidy into the bash. Survival Instance gets used. Interrupt over on Zuniaki. Cassidy still low as a Maledict connects to line of sight. Zuniaki trying to heal him up. Once again, all three members of Enlight behind the pillar trying to catch up their HP. Zeepai charges in. They smell blood in the water. They want to close out this game.
I mean, even still, they can't. Zuniaki healing on fumes. Lightning Lasso gets trinketed at the final second, and they're trying to stay alive for one more push. If they can stay alive just a bit longer, they've got one more chance to push, but I don't think they're ever going to be able to. At 61% healing reduction, Baba's boys are all over them. They don't want to throw the game, so they're trying to be careful. At the same time, they bought time for Berserk, but Kara's too low. Zuniaki has nothing. He's just mashing out mind controls, trying to hold Morrow back from this push. He gets cycloned up. Kara's got nothing. Cassidy's got nothing. They're just quivering behind the pillars. They all go down behind here shortly, and they will. Baba's boys securing that late game kill to perfection, taking game one.
And like prediction is correct, Baba's boys going to be leading by 1. Once again, Morrow on the boomkin. Is that going to be enough for the 2-0 lead?
I really just want to see Enlight target Looney start to finish, do or die, try and make it happen, but they could also go after Morrow. Bounce Druids are susceptible to Feral Druid pressure. Looks like they're splitting for now, or trying to make it difficult for Looney to predict who they're attacking. Kara and Cassidy tag teaming onto both targets. Looney can't really identify who should have Life Bloom, and if they go after the person who doesn't, that target's a lot more vulnerable. Hex instant dispel there by Cassidy, really quick on the trigger finger to remove that crowd control. Not able to almost ever get that Lightning Lasso combined together as a result. Cassidy is just bouncing back and forth on Morrow and Zeepai. This is effective strategy against Restoration Druid. It's actually banking a lot of defensive cooldowns with Astral Shift now out of the way at the back of that freezing trap. And if Enlight can stay stable and bounce between both targets, this could work for them.
Yeah, you can see Zuniaki, he's pushing in. He wants to get the damage rolling on Zeepai, playing Schism. Looking for it, gets interrupted. Not able to find the fear over onto Looney. Gets caught into the stun, into the Hex, into the Cyclone. So a little bit of an overlap there by Baba's boys, but ultimately Cassidy could dispel the Hex, so not the biggest deal. Kara now getting bursted down. The Maledict Trinket, 2 of them coming in. Zuniaki should be able to deflect with this Rapture, but Zeepai just spamming out the Purges, reducing all of that absorb effect, and now all over Kara. Zuniaki forced to use his shield.
It may have been almost more beneficial for Kara to simply trade aspect of the turtle. The barrier here, power barrier, a bit late by Zuniaki. That's usually a fair trade for Incarnation, but using it towards the tail end isn't as quite as effective. In the meantime, freezing trap on Looney, pressure being developed on Morrow as both teams are taking the brunt of this hit. Bringing in the Survival Hunter brings that Mortal Strike effect, which reduces healing on the target as opposed to Retribution Paladin, but you lose a lot of that healing from losing Word of Glory. So it's an offensive trade for a loss of defensive, and typically in this meta, you don't want to make that exchange, which is why Zika feels that this composition is not the right move for Enlight to make. But if they can stay stable, they had good pressure early on. Now they're trying to get something going, but Cassidy gets cycloned at low health, and things are slowly falling out of their hands.
Yeah, Looney's still in a good position. He has the Ironbark, he has the Trinket. Morrow has every defensive as well. Zuniaki's mana is much more taxed than we saw in the last game, and there's a full trap on Looney as they look to make a push onto Morrow, but unlucky for Enlight. Looney made a great play with the Ironbark. Morrow will survive. Full Fear going to be secured. Zeepai into the cross stun, so he can't use the Tremor Totem. He's just going to sit on it, though. Using it with only 2 seconds left on that Fear wouldn't have been the play, so nicely done by Baba's boys.
In the meantime, Enlight spreading some pressure on Looney, really trying to force him to use heal over time effects onto multiple members, but gaining no significant mana advantage whatsoever despite their best efforts. And slowly but inevitably, Baba's boys are going to be moving, I think, in this game. Cassidy getting bursted and still choosing to be aggressive, jumping now over to Morrow, and it looks like they're trying to attack all 3 targets, but they're just taking so much damage constantly because every time they switch, they leave the other one open and Zeepai will free cast. Or if they switch off Morrow, then Morrow will free cast. So it's quite risky and difficult to actually accomplish what they're trying to do. And Looney is still just quite easily healing through all of it regardless and gaining an inevitable mana lead.
It's looking good for Looney as he gets a little bit low. Lightning Lasso now on Cassidy used as a peel, but you can see Kara putting out massive pressure onto Looney. Looney, I think, is going to be okay as long as he can get away from Kara. Good pressure on Cassidy. Still, Pain Suppression gets traded out by Zuniaki. It doesn't have that defensive cooldown to really fall back on. If you look, Zuniaki doesn't have any defensives left. And Zeepai, he has a Stormkeeper available for him, so to get solid damage out, it might be difficult for Zuniaki to recover.
Kara gets bursted down by the Stormkeeper. Zuniaki manages to somewhat recover, but Incarnation activates an aspect of the turtle, almost immediately has to be exchanged off the back end of that. Now Cassidy getting bursted down by the lightning lasso, and Baba's boys have this game pretty much in checkpoint from all aspects, all angles at this point. And Lite, I think, are going to need a different composition to accomplish this task should they want to take down Baba's boys in the upper bracket. Fortunately, if they do lose the series, they will have a second chance in the lower bracket, but there's so many high-intensity teams in this tournament that you don't want to be facing elimination in your next series. You want to be on the upper brackets. Potentially, if they can recover behind the pillar, they could maybe go for an all-in kill, but it seems so unlikely with how low Zuniaki's mana is getting.
Yep, Kara still just line of sighting Zuniaki with the Rapture will keep his team stable during this time. The Incarnation gets activated by Morrow as he's looking to put out big pressure. Fear defensively coming in from Zuniaki onto Zeepai with the stun onto Looney. Mind Control going to be used by Zuniaki as well, but it get immediately purged there by Zeepai. Nicely done. Stormkeeper casted out. All that Elemental Shaman damage is locked and ready to go. Nice Stormkeeper there on the powered barrier. Nice Cyclone as well. So Zuniaki is getting CC'd, but that barrier will prevent any damage onto Cassidy. Yeah, but still trading the barrier not for the Incarnation exactly leaves an opening, and the next time that comes up, there's, I believe, aspect of the turtle available, so at least Carr will be able to exchange that. And Lite are trying to make something happen here on Looney, but going after him is the riskiest target. Leaving an Elemental Shaman and Boomkin free to cast in center field is quite dangerous and volatile, and Kara immediately has to abort that mission, otherwise he would have lost his life here in game number 2. But dampening has started. It will become more and more difficult for both teams, and it looks like they're actually trying to crowd control Zeepai and stun Looney at the same time to deny the Dispel, and removing that healing surge is great. Zuniaki playing Schism, but I think that might have been only the first time I've seen him actually have an opportunity to use it in this matchup. He's been under so much pressure. Schism is a more aggressive pick. I don't know if he necessarily can even get away with it. I think Castigation may have been better if he wanted to move for a late game kill. Right now, Looney is getting pressured, and suddenly Lite do have some opportunities. Yeah, that's true, but the longer they stay on Looney, the more of an opportunity Morrow and Zeepai have to get aggressive on Zuniaki and keep the pressure rolling onto Kara and Cassidy. So it is a good strategy, but it's definitely risky. Looney right now, no Barskin, no Ironbark. They make another swap. This could be devastating for Baba's boys. 8% dampening. Do they have the damage to push Looney over? Looks like he's just going to stay in the open. He doesn't want to kite out of line of sight, because that kites out of line of sight is kind of counterproductive, because then Zeepai and Morrow count counter pressure, which is a really good peel in and of itself. All right, Kara Cassidy going for the kill here on Looney. He activates Thorns. They cannot attack into that, or the damage will be reflected back at them, and quite devastating if you're taking free cast damage from Bouncer, Elemental Shaman, and Thorns. It's going to be dangerous. Now Zeepai getting Thorns. They don't really have an option with 2 Druids on the team. They try and switch immediately back to Looney and deny any benefit of that. Suddenly, Lite are actually slowly but surely equalizing the mana, which I was not expecting. Perhaps they can pull this off. As I say that, though, Zuniaki is caught in Cyclones. Cassidy gets bursted down quite heavily. In the meantime, they freezing trap Looney and switch targets to Zeepai and find an opening, but with Stone Form, Zeepai removes all those bleeds and now can start reversing the pressure back onto Cassidy, who runs back to the pillar, trying to heal himself back up, but Lite are showing signs of life. Yep, Cassidy, he's going to be moving in, looking for the pressure onto Zeepai, and continuing the pressure onto Looney as well. I think bleeding everyone up, putting single target pressure onto Looney is a really good strategy. Zuniaki feeling a little bit of the heat there, though, has to grip Cassidy back, stopping him from really putting out maximum damage just to pop off. And at this point in the game, Zuniaki, his mana is getting low. I don't think he's going to have an opportunity to recover it. So Lite, they need to find an opening, and they need to win pretty quickly here. Yeah, Looney, he is getting bursted down, has cooldowns to trade, unless he's just a little bit too greedy, and he is trying to get away with it right now with Thorns activated. Bashes Car into a Cyclone. Cassidy's getting torn up. Zuniaki gets Solar Beam. It's looking more and more grim for Lite as they try and pull a miracle from this dark place they've found themselves in. Dome of Light used almost aggressively for them to commit for the kill on Looney. Lots of damage. Will he fall? Healing surges and regrowths by both Morrow and Zeepai allow Looney to easily recover. And now Cassidy on the back foot, caught in center field. Wild charge back to the pillar. Kara now left behind out in the open. Goes for a freezing trap, but no one can back him up. He's dangerously low. They can't do any damage during that crowd control. Now Kara cycloned at low health. It is going to make it difficult for Zuniaki to recover. Cassidy gets lightning lasted. Pain suppression is forced to be traded. Maledix is soaking up healing, and Kara and Cassidy could be a potential double kill for Baba's boys. His Kara is getting stunned up on 10%.
trying to hold on to Aspect of the Turtle for his dear life. He manages to hold on to it just a couple seconds longer, but now Cassidy's left out in midfield. He's trying to get something going on Looney despite all of this pressure in favor of Baba's boys. Cooldown lead, mana lead, pressure lead, mana lead, everything lead at this point. We're not even that deep into dampening, and it looks like Baba's boys are going to be closing this to a game 5, and then Lite need a better answer.
Yeah, they definitely do. They're not completely out of it yet, but they are running out of time, and running out of time quickly. Zeepai lightning lasso over onto Cassidy. Zuniaki really no mana to recover. Uses the Dark Archangel. They're trying to get some pressure rolling on Zeepai. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. You have to get Baba's boys off your back, and you have to push in, try to get aggressive. But I feel like in this positioning, when Kara, Cassidy, Zuniaki, they're running behind the pillar, they're running on fumes, there's really not too much they can do in this situation.
Ooh, Looney jumped in for an aggressive play, and potentially could cost his team the game as he got crowd controlled off the back end of it, and now Astral Shift was traded out, but there's just too much damage, too much crowd control. Baba's boys are all over them, and Cassidy goes.
Well, I think that there's a right answer to that question. I don't think it's me, but we're going to be getting this one started very quickly. Baba's boys looking for the hot 3-0.
All right, can Kara, Cassidy, Zuniaki do it? Can they get through the brick wall that is Baba's boys and deep dampening on Runes of Laura? Zuniaki headlong running across the map on his mount, looking for some psychic screams, gets dispelled. Kara maybe going to be freezing, trapping that dispel. Doesn't look like it. Zuniaki's just going right on top of Looney, even without psychic scream. I think Looney at this point might just be bored. He's like, okay, I'm getting in the fight. I'm going to make something happen. But if you overextend in the open, they're just going to attack you, and that immediately is what happens. Zuniaki gets tossed to the side. Looks like they do want to try and gun down Looney, and Zuniaki's just going to go all-out aggression despite losing the defense of that pillar to hide behind. He needs the extra damage for his team, and maybe it can be enough.
Yeah, he's pushing forward, trying to take Looney down. Rapture's going to be traded out, has a Dark Archangel caught into the bash. Nicely done by Looney, still just baiting Zuniaki in the open. Looney getting low in the efflorescence in bear form, and this is where you'll see Morrow, if he needs to, toss out the regrowth. Zeepai tossing in the healing touches as well onto Looney to keep him alive. Barskin gets traded out, but a lot of pressure coming in from Enlight, a surprising amount of damage.
That malediction from Zuniaki pulled basically every defensive cooldown by Looney, and even though Zuniaki, it kind of looks like he's trolling because he's just in the middle of the map, but he's actually getting a lot of pressure out. If he can keep this up and still deal damage without dying, it could work, but so much damage from Zeepai. Zuniaki gets hexed at low health. Cassidy dispels it, and Zuniaki does not care. Caution to the wind. I'm killing Looney. I don't care if I have to be in the center of the map at this point, and this is going to be quite an interesting feat of strength if Zuniaki can pull it off, being out in the open against Zeepai's pressure.
Yep, Looney getting caught into the stun once again, actually preemptively using that Iron Bark on all of that incoming damage. Zuniaki thinking twice about just sitting in the open the entire game, but it is an admirable push by Enlight. Once again, Zuniaki pushing in, Lightning Lasso coming in from Zeepai, and this is exactly what Baba's boys needs to do. When Zuniaki charges in, they just need to attack him. The Priest is very vulnerable to spell damage, so he doesn't really have that damage reduction. Takes a lot of burst. Bash over onto Looney, going to be completely fine, I believe. Fear over onto Zeepai, trying to crowd control Zeepai as he is an additional healer to keep Looney alive, so getting that cross crowd control on these hybrids is very important.
Only attacking one target means that target gets 2 thorns from 2 druids, life bloom the entire game. Even though they've gotten a lot of pressure early on, this is just going to be so devastating into the later parts of the match. Zuniaki cloned up, Cassidy gets bursted down. They're on match point and barely hanging on as they cower for cover in the protection of this room. But how much protection is it really as Zuniaki gets interrupted over and over? Cyclone again. Cassidy just doesn't care. All right, you're in crowd control. We're targeting Looney and killing him because nothing else has shown any sort of success. So if it's not working, change it, fix it, and that's what they're trying to do, even though this is so chaotic for them.
Yeah, Looney in bear form, spamming out the swipes, kiting away again, just trying to create distance from Zuniaki. Doesn't want to allow Zuniaki to get purges out, get that additional damage out, just has to stay away. Bait him in the open, now a bash over on Amaro. Cassidy reconnecting to his target. Looney could be in some trouble, but he gets in bear form before the stun once again. Very nicely done.
All right, once again, Zuniaki moves in, gets double cross crowd control. Maybe the miracle. Can they do it? Can they get a kill on Looney with this kind of just caution to the wind? YOLO, you only live one strategy. I don't know. Maybe Zuniaki gets stunned up in the room. He's getting just destroyed by the enemy team. He's got basically not much to work with. He gets cycloned on what he does have to work with. He's just completely exposed to Baba's boys. Looney's defense has rotated completely back and available. Significant mana lead, and despite this valiant aggression, it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to break Baba's boys.
Yeah, Lite is looking hopeless in this matchup, to be completely honest with you. They need to find some massive burst damage, but look at Looney. He has Trinket, Barskin, Ironbark, Renew, Thorns, everything available to keep himself alive. Big swap over on a Zeepai, though. Nicely done. Can they find the pressure? Astral Shift gets traded out by Zeepai. He should be fine with the Ironbark, with the Astral Shift, with a huge heal coming in from Looney. Zeepai gets topped off, and now Zuniaki running, realizing, uh-oh, I'm out of mana. I need to try to find something quick. Runs across the map, but if Maro and Zeepai are smart, which they are, they're going to be moving in. It's going to be up to Kara and Cassidy to deny. Zuniaki actually sitting down, getting a big amount of mana in the situation. Really well done.
I mean, it's not that big. It's enough, but it's not really going to be
decent amount. Come on,
securing. I don't think of the game here in this match. We're not into dampening. The healers are almost tabbed with Looney though at a significant lead. Diamond Ice trap, but Cassidy can't get damage out as he is cycloned. Maro's support has been unparalleled in this match, completely shutting down any sort of attempts. See that malediction on Cassidy. Zuniaki dispels it immediately. And all right, Lite say, all right, we played in the pool long enough. It's time to get out and dry ourselves off and try and figure out a different strategy, because that's just not working. They managed to bait Maro and Zeepai back onto the tombstone. They can attack multiple targets and then jump back onto Looney. And I think this is a much better strategy. You need to bounce onto different targets and force Looney to have heal over time effects on different targets. Otherwise, you're just never going to get through the defense. But even still, this is looking grim.
Yeah, they may have jumped out of the pool to try to dry off, but you cannot escape the damp. It is coming, and we are at 3%, and as this game goes on longer, Baba's Boys is going to have more and more of an advantage. It seems like Zuniaki almost completely tapped on mana, still playing midfield, trying to play aggressive, but they just cannot find an opening against this composition.
Cassidy getting lightning lassoed once again. Zeepai on a rodeo. Looney still getting tunneled, but seems to be dealing with it just fine. Thorns preemptively activated, and Kara's getting a lot of that brunt of damage from Thorns. Cassidy's trying to split his pressure. They're going to a similar strategy in game number 2, but with a lot less mana and a lot less time, so I'm not sure if it's going to work out for them. Obviously, the all-in on Runes of Lordaeron not going to be effective here. And Looney just crossing the map to stop the drink. Zuniaki is very cheeky in this last game. Goes all-out aggression and then it's like, all right, I'm going to chill. I'm just going to sit back here and sip and get my mana back. And it's actually keeping his team in the fight just a little bit longer, and perhaps an opportunity for them to get a kill.
Yeah, sort of baiting Baba's Boys into an unideal position where Looney's chasing in. Maybe they can get some damage rolling. And actually, now Lite, they have the mana advantage in this matchup. Cassidy getting low, though. Pain Suppression gets traded out by Zuniaki. Cassidy looking for the Cyclone. Zeepai denies it with a Grounding Totem, I believe. That was nicely done. Kara still line of sighting. Zuniaki caught in the hacks. Immediately gets dispelled. Lightning Lasso on Cassidy. Good burst pressure. No interrupt going to be available for Lite. So if Zeepai can continuously land these lassos, they're very effective at dealing damage and locking down a target from Lite.
All right, Thorns activated by both Druids. You can't attack anybody, Lite, so they're just going to run away, hide behind the tomb with that power word barrier protecting them. Well placed by Zuniaki, soaking up a lot of this incarnation damage, but even still with dampening stacked up and how much mana he's got left to work with, I don't even know if he's going to be able to recover his team. He's so far behind. Now Cyclone. Cassidy's left alone. There's really nothing to keep him going. It barely hangs on. At about 1% health, gets wind sheared. Zuniaki penances, and somehow Cassidy stays in it. Zuniaki is playing basically the game of his life for a 0.0001% chance to win, but he's still doing it.
Yeah, he's doing a good job at a very defensive position right now. Really not too much mana left to work with. There's a bash coming in from Maro. Potential full Cyclone, and now Cassidy and Kara could be in a lot of trouble. Cassidy trying to line of sight. Has a Feral Druid. He does have some heals for himself. Manages to toss them out. Gets back into the action, wanting to continue the pressure on Maro. The Diamond Ice trap over on Looney. Maro taking a little bit of burst, but I just feel like such a solid position. Cassidy getting low. Not looking good for Lite. 20% dampening. Zuniaki gets out of the crowd control, out of that beam. Finds some healing onto Cassidy, but can he top him off?
I don't really know at this point. Dampening 20%. Cassidy's getting cloned at low health. Zuniaki's right on top of Zeepai. Now Zuniaki is Cyclone. Cassidy gets caught in a stun. Tons of damage to that malediction. Zuniaki instantly dispels it, but now he's caught in a bash. Dampening's too high. Another malediction. They duck for cover once again, hanging on by the skin of their teeth. Desperately trying to develop any sort of sense of danger even for the team of Baba's Boys. They're really not getting too much. Finally, Barskin at least from Maro, but Zuniaki's got no mana, a little blue bar just barely squeaking by below his health, and I don't know if he's really going to be able to get much going for his team. Just mind controlling, really just playing whatever he can, any opportunity, any angle that he can get, but even still just not even scratching Baba's boys.
Yeah, Cassidy getting low. In the meantime, Zuniaki completely tapped. But Zipai is getting a little bit low. Looney has to top him off. He still has the Ironbark. They have the Astral Shift. They're looking good defensively. They just need to find a kill against Lite. If Lite can hold on a little bit longer, there is a chance that they could take down Zipai. It's just such a small chance, especially with all the defensives they still have available. Cassidy gets gripped away. Nice Cyclone coming in from Maro, denying the healing from Zuniaki. Kara, in the meantime, getting low. Has to trade out the aspect of the turtle as he's looking to kite away. Line of sight some damage. Zuniaki caught into the bash. Baba's boys, they want to end this game. They are pushing in to close it out.
I mean, it's almost like they're just trying to swat flies, but they're like flies in steel armor that just refuse to die at this point. But at the end of the day, they're still just flies to Baba's boys. They can't get anything going. They're more of an annoyance, but there's still maybe that 0.1% chance that Lite can do this. If they can develop any sort of pressure, good damage on Zipai right now. They managed to at least pull a defensive cooldown, maybe a bit more. Dampening's pretty high. Looney's starting to struggle, but Zuniaki gets crunched. He ducks around the corner to stay in the fight with both members of his team still dangerously low. How much does he have left to really keep it going? He paint suppressions, says go for it, get a kill because I've got nothing left at this point. Lite are cowering, but ultimately going to be closed out here, I believe, shortly as Kara will fall. Zuniaki plays out of his mind, but just can't get anything going for his team. Baba's boys will blow this series out.
See, this is the type of player that Zuniaki...
See here, Maro, for example, he has his big incarnation there in the middle left of your screen right there, that big blue cooldown that's glowing up. That one, if you have that this deep into dampening, and for example, Kara does not have his aspect of the turtle, that's a big issue. If Zuniaki